Hello and welcome to my very first attempt at making a speedraw with a voiceover. My name is Pekka or PK, however you want to pronounce it, and I'm an artist from the Canary Islands. Also, English is not my first language, so I'm just hoping this is easy enough to understand, taking into consideration that I'm just overall not good at expressing myself. But yeah, the intent for this video is to kind of show my workflow and my process when it comes to coloring characters digitally. It's just so other people that are teaching themselves how to draw like I was 4 years ago have some point of reference as to how other people approach it, and explaining in detail how I separate the different parts of the character and how I go about shading. This is not how shading works. It's just the order in which I draw. So yeah, this is also gonna be kind of long, 20 minutes I think. So I advise you to get comfy and something to drink, keep yourself hydrated, and hopefully it's entertaining and relaxing to watch. Now I'm just doing the base colors. In the meantime, I wanted to just mention that I don't believe this is by any means the one and only way to do things. This is just the workflow that has helped me be efficient. By that I mean, first of all, I separate on folders the base color layers. Basically the skin, hair, accessories, and clothes. Right, so this is not really gonna be an in-depth tutorial in how I do shadow or lighting or anything of that. I wanted just to talk about how I approach the coloring, like my coloring method, I guess you could call it. If you want me to go in depth on how I do hair or eyes or clothes or even just the line art, and also planning illustrations, designing characters, backgrounds, all that, I can absolutely do that. I would love to. In fact, I think that it is something that I feel like I didn't understand until very little ago, like maybe 6 months ago, is that the level of effort that you put into your background and the composition and the color story of your illustration has to match the quality of your drawing, like the literal ability and experience that you have. Because if not, you're just gonna be diminishing the appearance of the whole thing. I really didn't take into account the fact that I was creating a whole image and a feel and trying to push a certain feeling with the image. So for this image, since I just wanted her, this character that I created based off a fucking Pinterest picture of an hourglass, like this fantasy hourglass with dragon motifs and all that. So I thought, well, she's gotta be a dragon girl, right? And what the hourglass inspired me was, first of all, the shape of the character, and that this character was like a rough character. In the first illustration I did of her, that maybe you peeped either in my Instagram or at the beginning of this voiceover where I was looking at the reference, you'll see her, maybe the original drawing. But yeah, I made her with like armor and all, but since this is like a very beautiful character and very regal and all that, I just wanted to draw a portrait of her. So yeah, And I wanted to make it very dreamy, sort of magical, water galaxy color story. So yeah, here we go. As you saw on the reference, well, as you're seeing right now on the reference, it's like a very blue heavy image, and that one pop of color that it has are the model's lips, which are red, and I wanted to kind of imitate that, but instead I chose the color of the character's eyes, which is this deep purple, almost electric blue color, but I dimmed it down. Later you'll see when I'm doing the eyes. Oh, actually, here I'm getting into the basic lighting, more what I guess it's called ambient lighting, and the base shadows that the body would have in any kind of lighting, really. So yeah, and doing the makeup is also really, really satisfying to me. It's one of my favorite parts. You'll see she's gonna be looking real scary for a while with those empty eyes. But don't worry about it. She'll have eyes at some point. Again, like I said, it's this stage is not at all about figuring out where my light source is coming from, what it's hitting, what it's not hitting, whatever. This is just about the base. Right, I'm gonna briefly go over how I do eyes. So I laid down this white base, and then I do the eyelid shadow, like the shadow that the eyelid would be projecting in the eyeball. Here you go. Then I go ahead and do a very subtle highlight in the middle of the eyeball. Now I'm taking the color of the eye and doing the iris shape. I separate the shape of the iris ugh, in another folder so I can only paint. I clip the mask, putting it above it, so I only paint within the shape that I already have. Now you can see I'm doing the highlights, giving depth to the eye with shadow, and then I do these little lines as the detail within the iris. The pupil, she's a dragon, she's gotta have these cat pupils. And some cute little details. It's not necessary, but I feel like it makes the eyes look a little bit more interesting, is the word. And we work smarter and not harder on this channel, okay? So I'm gonna clone the eye and mirror it and put it in the other eye. No, actually, don't mirror it. I'm just tweaking it so it fits in. And now I'm gonna do a little back and forth. I think I flipped the canvas to check if it was making sense at all where she was looking. Now that I kinda got it, I'm just gonna do the eyelid shadow in the iris too. I thought the eyelids weren't symmetrical, so I just played with them for a while in the line art layer. Just doing the basic deepest shadows that a face would have. And the pearls. I don't think you can see very well this fast how I draw pearls, but here you go. What's most important is that you have that shadow and the big highlight in the middle. That's really what's giving the illusion of the iridescence that a pearl kind of has. I wasn't really happy with the brightness and the color of them, so I put a layer over them. Don't remember what kind of layer I used. Overlay? I don't know. Now I'm doing the shadow in the necklace, whatever. You'll see that I struggle a lot with that gem. I don't know what kind of gem I was going for, to be honest. Some kind of opal, amethyst looking thing. I tried with this. I tried to make this approach work. Did not. You'll see. At this point, I looked reference of how other artists did gems like this, and I kind of got a sense of how I wanted it to look. Already, I think it's looking much better. And I did it! I'm a champ. I got there eventually. Also, I chose cooler shadows in everything that I shaded. This is again the shade that a dress with that texture would have, regardless of the light source. Well, more like with the very far away, very ambient, like sunlight or room, very bright yellowish light. Just because I feel like that's what I'm most familiar with and what I'm able to replicate best. And then I can just go over that with some color layers and lighting mode or screen mode to make it look the way I want it to. I'm gonna be fucking with the background a lot right now, so yeah. I just wanted to have some space and some lines that kind of directed you towards her face and gave the space she's looking towards not feel crowded. That's why I leaned her a little bit over to the right. I think at this point I'm gonna get into the shadows. Yeah, here we go. I tried this approach first, which was taking a color that I thought would work as a shadow. Did not in the end, but I thought so at the moment. And I literally went over the parts that I wanted to be in shadow, which I feel like didn't really work for me because of how rough it was and how little control it gave me. So now I did the usual thing that I do, which is kind of lazy to be honest, just filling the layer above all that with a maroon purple-ish color, and then erasing over the parts that the light source would be hitting, which basically I thought the light source would be coming from, since in the reference it looks to be a very harsh light from like below, from the side. The part that's supposed to have the most brightness is the cheek, the face, but I kind of dimmed down the lights and gave it a little bit less like contrast. So yeah, at least to me, very saturated colors and deep shadows can be intimidating. So yeah, I did sin. I did fucking play into that fear of mine. Oh my god, why am I cursing so much? So yeah. Also, the space that I painted her in didn't really give itself to very dark shadows. They wouldn't have made much sense, really. I tried to imitate that bluish. I don't know if it's bouncing from the wall. What is it? Or is like a projector that's projecting the thing on her face and the wall? Don't know. Detailing a little more the shadows. And at this point I'm just playing with the color and the brightness of the light. Now I wasn't really happy with what I had done in the base, so I went over again, did highlights fucking everywhere. At this point I just knew where I wanted the highlights to be because I had figured out where the light was coming from, and even then I just put them wherever I feel they look good, really. Now I painted over the line art with some color. I wish I had just left it the way it was, or committed to it being a full colored line art, but I kind of shied away from it, lowered the opacity of that layer so you could kind of notice that there was not like a harsh dark line, but still. It's basically done at this point. I'm just literally going through every layer that I had made for the shadows and all that and tweaking them. I don't know, my vocabulary seems to not be very rich today, sorry. I'm playing around with them, then I put some colors over it to adjust the saturation and iridescence that I wanted the colors to have. I swear to God, I tried to give this drawing like effects over the character, speckles everywhere, did not work for me. See, it just doesn't make sense. This is just kind of like a fantasy fucking yearbook picture, you know what I mean? Or portrait that you have in your house. It's not really her in a physical place. And this is the end result. I really hope you liked watching how I do things. Hopefully, you learned something from either how I do things or my mistakes. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching, especially if you're watching still. This was a long one. So, yeah, I have Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and all that, but I don't really want to promote that. I just am here to help. So, yeah, bye bye.